The Atlanta Braves are the better team than the Washington Nationals, but one thing has stood true all year long. This Nationals team, they've got the Braves number.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And of course, I'm your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me over on Twitter at RyanClary11 and as well as the show page at LO_Nationals. For all your latest Nationals news and notes, make sure to check us out over on Twitter. And while you're at it, make sure to search up Locked On Nationals wherever you get your podcasts, including over on YouTube. While you're at it, hit that subscriber button on YouTube as well. Drop a thumbs up, thumbs down, drop a comment, whatever you want. We can interact over on YouTube. Later on in today's show, Stephen Strasburg. As the Nationals had the day off today, Stephen Strasburg spoke publicly for the first time after he spoke with Barry Svrluga of the Washington Post. We'll have those details a little bit later on, and one of those tidbits is pretty damn jarring. If you didn't catch that, we'll have that conversation for you in the third segment of today's show. Second segment, it is a Monday, so you know what that means if you're an everydayer out there. It is a Nats Stock Report Monday. Who's been up and who has been down? That is where you'll get your latest individual performances for the Washington Nationals. And just to give you a little bit of a taste, who will be on there: Jesse Winker, Jordan Weems, Nick Senzel, Eddie Rosario, and as well as Kyle Finnegan. I'll have those who's been up and who's been down in that second segment of today's show. But we're going to start off with recapping the weekend, as the Washington Nationals, they have got the Atlanta Braves number. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. So we get started here today discussing the Braves-Nats series, as the Nationals, they dropped game 1 of the series. They took game 2 on Friday, game 3 on Saturday, and game 4 in yesterday's contest, as Hurston Waldrep in yesterday's game made his major league debut. And for those who aren't familiar with him, he is the Braves' top pitching prospect in their system, and really the best prospect that they have right now, as they've been trading away a lot of different pieces. But as the Braves do best, they do produce very solid starting pitching, as that's what they have done under their GM over the last 7 or so years. So the Nationals, they took 3 of 4 against the Braves. Yesterday's game was really kind of the more important one, in my opinion. You got down early, but overall, though, the Nationals, it was the glimpse of the scrappy Nats. Let's just say that to start this show. The Nationals, in the bottom of the 4th inning yesterday, this was the sequence that really just opened the floodgates for them, as they dropped 7 runs. The first time they've done that so far since Kansas City series back last year in Kansas City at Kauffman Stadium in 2023. Most runs they have scored since last May in an inning. Now, the series that really kind of where things kind of changed for the Nationals in yesterday's game was that bottom of the 4th. And if you're a young kind of Nationals-minded guy, if you want to see what the future is like, this inning right here was meant for you. It starts off with the Luis Garcia RBI single to make it 2-1 in the bottom of the 4th, and then Keibert Ruiz hits that 3-run home run to make it 4-2 Washington, and then C.J. Abrams comes in, bases clearing double, 7-2 Nats. Those 3 young guys are 3 of the most important pieces to this Nationals offense, as we have seen it time and time again. Let's go back to April, when C.J. Abrams was tearing the cover off the baseball. Right now, as of recent, it hasn't been great for him. We all know the stats. We've all seen them from the start of May all the way through the beginning part of June. But C.J. Abrams, he still seems to be impacting the game, as, you know, you've seen some bad errors out there at shortstop. You've seen some instances where he just doesn't look the same. He's swinging a lot of first pitches. And really, if you're going to throw him a strike, even if it isn't his pitch, he's going to be swinging. I would like to see C.J. Abrams be a little bit more selective, because when he is more selective, that's when you see a lot better outcomes, like we saw in yesterday's game, hitting that base-clearing double. And with C.J. Abrams, we have Jacob Young over at first base, and C.J. Abrams is going to be at the plate. If you hit the ball in the outfield, he's going to be taking 2 bases, and let alone he took 3. Jacob Young scored all the way to home as he hit that ball in the right field corner there. CJ Abrams, this is kind of what he needed. This is what the Nationals needed in particular. They needed this offensive outburst, in which you got it over the weekend against a very good Atlanta Braves team. Again, let's reiterate this point here. The Philadelphia Phillies, they've been the best team in the National League East. But I still believe that even without Ronald Acuna Jr., this Braves team will be the deeper team to go in the NL, in my opinion. I think this Braves team could still easily make a jump into the World Series. Whatever they do at the deadline, they're going to be making some additions. I don't know who that'll be. I don't know if they could even go after someone like a Jesse Winker at this point, who has been wildly impressive so far this season and continues to play solid in left field, continues to be really good at the plate, has had his ups and downs, but ultimately he has been a very good contribution to this Nationals offense and overall the clubhouse as well, in my opinion. But now with the Nationals, after you take 3 of 4 against the Braves yet again in back-to-back weeks, this just feels like a very good positive momentum swing. And we were talking about this just 2 weeks ago when the Nationals were in Atlanta and they took 3 of 4. You saw the starting pitchers. Mitchell Parker came in and shut the door on them. You had Mackenzie Gore shut the door on them. And then you also had Trevor Williams, who has been your ace so far this season, shut the door on them as well. Now, fast forward just about a week and a half later, the Nationals, they do the same thing. I'm not saying that this Nats team is going to be turning it around. I'm not saying that this Nats team should be having wild, high expectations at this point. But one thing is for sure, in my opinion, and this Nats team is a little bit better than what you think. Even with all the losses as of recent, the Nationals have had a very, very tough schedule here over the last month and a half or so. And now, it'll probably get a little bit easier. You have the Marlins coming to town this weekend, and the Marlins have been a little bit better compared to what they started, but still, you know this. You should be able to beat up on this Marlins team. And then, of course, you have the day off today, and with the Nationals, there's a lot of good things to be looking ahead, in my opinion, because there wasn't just the Nats-Braves series that happened over the weekend. Number one, Patrick Corbin is having his start skipped over these next few days. This is, in my opinion, a lot of people have been talking about what are the Nationals going to do with Corbin. This has been a hot topic of conversation. I talked about it with Bobby Blanco last week about this, but still, I don't think this is going to be what you think it is. I don't think this is the Nationals saying, oh, well, we're going to put Patrick Corbin back in the bullpen after we skip his start. No. Unfortunately, I don't think that's the case. I just think that this is going to be a reason for them to be like, hey, he needs an extra rest day. This guy takes the ball every 5 days. I just think it's as what it is on the surface. They're just skipping a start for Patrick Corbin, in which, by the way, not that surprising considering Patrick Corbin does take the ball every 5 days. He's never hurt. He's always out there and that's the best trait that he has at this point as a national starting pitcher. But I don't think that it's going to be the sense that they're just going to throw him back in the bullpen and that'll be the end of Patrick Corbin. Again, we have seen this time and time again. They're not going to put Patrick Corbin in the bullpen at this point. It's kind of one of those things. And if you're an everydayer, you've probably heard me say this before. You can tell me Bigfoot is there, but I won't believe Bigfoot is there unless I see it for myself. That is the situation that we sit in with Patrick Corbin going to the bullpen. You have had opportunities to throw him back there. I don't care what anyone says. You could have had Yohan Adone out there having a 5 ERA, and it probably would have been better than Patrick Corbin. You could have had Jackson Rutledge out there, and it probably would have been better than Patrick Corbin in years past. I'm not going to say that they're going to throw Patrick Corbin in the bullpen. I just won't believe it until I actually see it. And at this point in time, can you say that you will see it? I can't. I just simply cannot at this moment in time. It does make sense, but it doesn't for the way that Davey Martinez and this national staff thinks at this point. I don't know what value they see. They see the numbers. They know that he's got one of the highest ERAs in all of baseball. They know that he's given up the most hits in all of baseball, the most earned runs, most everything bad out there. They all know the stats. I don't think they're going to be just throwing Patrick Corbin out in the bullpen at this point. I wish I was wrong, and if I am wrong, I will be very glad to be wrong in this scenario. But I just won't believe it until I see it. But speaking of starting pitching, Sean Doolittle took the command of the pitching coach over the weekend as Jim Hickey attended a family event. Hopefully everything's all right with his family, of course. But Sean Doolittle, that could be the future for you, as we all love Sean Doolittle. And let me just say this, because as someone who obviously grew up watching the Nationals, grew up in the DC area as well, watching this team since '05. The Nationals and seeing Sean Doolittle out there as a pitching coach. Number one, how old do you feel? I am 24 years old. I feel like a damn dinosaur at this point. This guy was just out there saving the day back in 2017 all the way through 2019 for this Nats team, being one of the better closers in all of baseball in that time frame. And now he's your pitching coach, and he's got gray hair. What are we doing? Where has time gone? I just wanted to say that and throw that out there because, oh my God, first off, Sean Doolittle, please be the pitching coach moving forward. Jim Hickey, he's done a fine job this year. I'm not going to give Sean Doolittle entire 100% of the credit. Jim Hickey will get a little bit of the credit, but we all know what's happening. Sean Doolittle, pitching coach, that is what the decision should be moving forward going into next year. Hope the Nationals do it because if it's not us, it'll be someone else. And I would hate to see this Nationals staff lose another one, just like they did with Kevin Long a few years ago. And as we've seen with the Phillies offense this year, it's paying dividends. So hopefully the Nats can get it situated. But as we see, Sean Doolittle, the pitching coach, we all know that is what we want to see. Thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, it is time for a Nats stock report. Who's been up and who's been down? I'll tell you that after we tell you guys about our friends over at SupplyHouse. And guys, get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is a reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at SupplyHouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at SupplyHouse.com. Now, let's also tell you guys about some of our very good friends over at FanDuel. And guys, summertime means baseball, the NBA Finals, and more, and you can bet it all on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 you can use to bet everything from the Finals MVP to who's going to hit one out of the park. And right now, if you're watching the Finals, the Celtics went up 2-0 yesterday. If you want to bet on the Finals MVP, I can tell you this right now, I've got the script. Not really, but it is Jaylen Brown. I can tell you that right now. He has been unbelievable. You can place that with our friends at FanDuel. And when you do that, visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and add a big win to your summer bucket list. Again, visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and add a big win to your summer bucket list because FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. And while you're at it, again, FanDuel.com/lockedon and add a big win to your summer break. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And of course, don't forget, Stephen Strasburg spoke publicly for the first time, again, for the first time since his retirement. And there are some interesting tidbits that I will have for you in the next segment, so stay tuned for that. You will not want to miss that, I promise you. The quotes are pretty damn jarring from Stephen Strasburg. Will he ever come back? I think that is a fair question to ask at this point, but it's time for a Nats stock report. Who's been up and who has been down? Your latest individual performances from your Washington Nationals Major League squad. So we start up with a stock up for Jesse Winker. And over his last 7 games, he has been on fire. And this homestand, starting with the Mets all the way through the Braves, Jesse Winker is batting .550, a .654 OBP, a .550 slug, and a .1204 OPS. Only 4 strikeouts, 5 walks, 3 RBIs, and he has 11 of 20 over his last 20 at-bats. Jesse Winker, again, has kind of been the unsung hero of this Nationals team. When the Nationals signed him during spring training, I was not thrilled with the fact of it, but as Jesse Winker has really kind of turned his career around with the Nationals, he hasn't been murdering the baseball. But Jesse Winker, number one, has a career high in stolen bases by far. at this point. He's got around 12 stolen bases so far. And Jesse Winker has just been a clubhouse guy. He has been a very, very pleasurable guy to watch every single day in left field. And again, I think the Nationals, one of their worst kept secrets is they want to see Jesse Winker go out there and continue to do what he has been doing so they can trade him at the deadline. Because again, Jesse Winker was an all-star just a handful of years ago with the Reds. This guy was a pretty big player for those Reds teams. And when he got traded to the Mariners, he kind of fell off a little bit. But ultimately, I don't think Jesse Winker is going to be someone where the Nationals just kiss goodbye and let him sit on the bench, be a fourth outfielder. And that does kind of suck to realize because you have James Wood waiting in the wings, should be up in the majors right now. But as he continues to rehab a hamstring injury, we all know it's going to happen. They're going to be taking their time with him as they should. But Jesse Winker has been great. Over the last week or so, again, batting .550, having 11 at-bats having 11 hits over his last 20 at-bats. Even if it's just singles, I don't care. You're doing damage. You're getting on base. You're stealing bases. You're playing good defense. You're adding value to this team. You're adding value to your trade stock at the deadline. So stock up for Jesse Winker and a stock down for Jordan Weems. This is where I was wrong. I thought Jordan Weems about a month and a half ago was going to be one of the better stories of the Nationals over the last year and a half or so, I guess you could say. Jordan Weems at one point last year was probably our third best bullpen arm. And even at this point, at some point this season, I would have said the same, but Dylan Floro kind of exceeded expectations. He has been the Nationals' third best arm behind Harvey and Finnegan. Jordan Weems has been really bad. His last two appearances have been awful, including making it a save scenario in yesterday's ball game. He's got 3 earned runs in each of his last 2 appearances, 7 hits in his last inning and 2/3 pitch, 2 walks and a home run, which was given up in yesterday's contest to Jared Kelenic of the Atlanta Braves. This has just not been good. And again, I don't know what the issue is. Was Jordan Weems just kind of fool's gold for the last year or so? Probably at this point. I mean, last year was good, but still, Jordan Weems this year has just been blowing it up. You've seen it and time again at this point. He kind of went through that tough stretch about a month ago, landed back down on earth a little bit, and now it's starting to inflate back up just a little bit. And I like Jordan Weems, but at this point in time, I think the success that he has had was maybe a little bit of luck, a little bit of fool's gold, you could say. But Jordan Weems at this moment, you just can't put him in any big situation as he cannot be trusted at this time. Stock up for, again, probably the second most unsung hero of the team, maybe even debatably the first. Third baseman, Nick Senzel. I have really started to like Nick Senzel. Like, really starting to really like what he is doing. Not just at the plate. He's playing solid third base. He's got a decent arm over there. He's not hindering you at all defensively, in which some people say he's not the best defender out there, but still, he's not really killing you either. At this point, so far in June, over 25 at-bats, he's batting .280, which is not crazy impressive, but here's what is impressive. A .419 OBP and a .560 slug and a .979 OPS so far and through the first 10 days of June. He's got 4 doubles. He's got a home run, 3 RBIs, 6 walks, and 7 strikeouts. And oh, by the way, he's got his first stolen base on the season. Someone who is not a wheels kind of guy, but he got on base and he stole a bag. Unbelievable by Nick Senzel. So he has been very good for this Nationals team so far. He has quietly just kind of been very consistent. He's hitting for a little bit of power. And the knock on him is that he doesn't really come up in big situations, which is fair. But still, when you are coming up there at the plate, you still have a job. And he is getting that job done right now. It doesn't matter what the situation is. And again, with 2 outs and runners in scoring position, he has actually been really damn good so far this season. Playing solid at third, hitting for a little bit of power. Nick Senzel has been a very pleasant surprise for this Nationals team. Again, another one of those kind of random signings from this offseason, like a Jesse Winker and a Nick Senzel, who they have been helping this team in a pretty big way. So stock up for Nick Senzel. He's starting to really kind of come into his own as a Nationals third baseman right now. Stock down for Eddie Rosario. You may ask, because this is individual performances, right? What are the stats on Eddie Rosario? What are they? It's not about the stats here. Lack of hustle. on multiple occasions now, not running the first. And again, he did have a game-saving kind of play in Friday night or Saturday, whichever game it was. But here's the thing. When you show a lack of hustle for someone who is a proven vet the way that Eddie Rosario is, that is not what we asked for here. You are a veteran that we are supposed to be trading at the deadline. That is it. You're supposed to be helping the young guys, kind of groom these guys into major league, big league ready players. And if you are the veteran of the clubhouse, which Eddie Rosario does have an important role to play here alongside Jesse Winker and other guys like that, Eddie Rosario has now a lack of hustle on multiple occasions, not running the first. And last week, in my opinion, one of the worst ones was eating a baseball when he could have made a play over at home plate. And when he just ate the ball in right field when Mackenzie Gore on the bump against those Mets, and he just kind of lazily threw the ball into second base, allowing a runner to score. Some people kind of overlooked that. I did not. I was at the game. I thought there was going to be a play at the plate, and I just see him lob the ball into second base, and I immediately yell, "What are you doing?" Eddie Rosario, that's just lazy. It just is what it is. That was not a good play. That was not a good, really set in stone for anything for this Nationals team. When you're a veteran guy, you have expectations, and the expectations are for you to hustle. Now, Davey Martinez was asked about him not hustling over to first base the other day, and he did say, well, he did kind of save the game for us, so we'll have that discussion. We'll enjoy this win, and then we'll have that talk on Saturday or whenever that came, but it's not good enough. Eddie Rosario, you got to hustle, man. Luis Garcia learned his lesson. Maybe you can learn your lesson next, but Eddie Rosario, you got to hustle, man. Stock up for Kyle Finnegan. He is second in the NL in saves with 18. And again, I was just looking to give Kyle Finnegan a little bit more credit. We have talked about the starting pitching all year long. We have talked about all the different success the starters have had with Mitchell Parker, Jake Irvin, Mackenzie Gore, all the other guys, Trevor Williams. But now, Kyle Finnegan, you deserve a little bit of credit here, and not just a little bit. He has been one of the best closers in all of baseball this year. He continues to be that. He is the standard of the Nationals bullpen right now. If you have Kyle Finnegan going out there, you don't have to hang tight in your seat. You feel pretty damn good anytime he goes out there. And really, you're only behind Ron Helsley in the National League from the St. Louis Cardinals in saves. And again, you have been nails all year. Besides that first series, which this is down back-to-back years, or the opening series of the season, Kyle Finnegan blew something. But he has been great so far this season. He has been one of the better closers in all of baseball at this point. You can rely on him day in and day out. So stock up for Kyle Finnegan. He continues to do his thing. Next, let's talk about Stephen Strasburg, because if you are not aware, Stephen Strasburg, it is not that pretty. We'll have those details for you as he spoke publicly for the first time since retiring from baseball. We'll have that for you after we tell you guys about our friends over at LinkedIn. And are you struggling to close deals? Back-to-back selling is tougher than ever, and that's why I want to tell you about LinkedIn Sales Navigator. LinkedIn Sales Navigator is a sales intelligence platform that helps professionals effectively prospect and engage high-value customers, drive higher revenue, and increase sales performance. Sales Navigator helps you target the right buyers, surface key signals such as job changes or which accounts you should prioritize, and shows you hidden allies so you can find those buyers that are most likely to convert. Fueled by LinkedIn's 1 billion member platform, Sales Navigator gives you the most up-to-date first-party data, enabling to unlock conversations with the right people that matter. Right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/lockedon. That is linkedin.com/lockedon for a 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Just go to linkedin.com/lockedon and get started. And now we get into it as Stephen Strasburg has opened up post-retirement with Barry's Faluga from the Washington Post, and this was a pretty jarring article, to say the least. Barry's Faluga got to sit down with Stephen Strasburg, in which was the most open he has been with reporters in any sense, from any time, anywhere. Stephen Strasburg has never been an open book. Well, in this scenario, he was an open book with Barry's Faluga. One of the most jarring things of this article, in my opinion, was that Stephen Strasburg, here's the thing. There are two sides in this equation. I think we can all acknowledge that. Number one, Stephen Strasburg, there may be a camp out there that say Stephen Strasburg should have showed up. I actually was in that camp. Admittedly, I was. Whether it was right, whether it was wrong, in this scenario, while he was not speaking publicly, you didn't really know what was going to be happening. If you're getting paid a lot of millions of dollars, in which Stephen Strasburg is, I expect you to show up even if you can't pitch again. And some people, like Strasburg himself, may say that that is a little bit of a distraction. Because here was one of the jarring quotes that he kind of had. So here's some background information on this. This is from Barry Sluga again of the Washington Post. Quote, as spring training of this year approached, the club wanted something from him. And it said so in a letter from Mike Rizzo, the president of baseball operations. Attendance at spring training and all team meetings, travel with the team on all regular season road trips, attendance at all home games, availability to teammates, and some appearances at fan events, including a celebration of the 2019 title. In my opinion, if you are under contract and you are yet to be retired, in which, there was a little bit of a legal battle behind that, and we all know that that has been resolved since then, but showing up to the 2019 World Series reunion, I think that is where I disagree with Strasburg. Show up, man. Show up. It's not about the organization. It's about the fans. They're not celebrating the Lerner family for what they did in 2019. You're celebrating yourself and as well as the fans and the rest of your 2019 teammates who showed up. I still don't understand that fact of this. I don't understand the aspect of you just not showing up because you feel as if you're a distraction, and that's what we get into here. Quote from Stephen Strasburg, I didn't sign up to just sit there, right? He said, I signed up to play. I think I have too much respect for those guys in the dugout, in the clubhouse, and how hard it is because I went through it. I'm not just going to sit here and just kick my feet up and just put on a uniform while all these other guys are out there grinding like that. That's not beneficial to anybody. Now, while that is true, while that can all be true, I think where everything kind of gets lost in this, in my opinion, is the fact that Strasburg did not show up to the 2019 reunion. I don't care which side you are on this. Yes, the Nationals organization, they could have done a lot better by this. They could have handled this situation way better than what they did. We can all acknowledge that and be adults in the room here. But also, Stephen Strasburg, you are getting paid and you have been getting paid millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars by this organization to, unfortunately, not by your choice, but to not pitch. That's the fact of it. You should probably show up to the 2019 World Series reunion. It's not about the organization. It's not about a celebration for Stephen Strasburg. It's just about the fans and doing what's right, in my opinion. That is where I kind of get lost in this situation. And it is a big cluster, you know what? We can all agree with it. And again, at the end of the day, after Strasburg has opened up about this, a lot of people are wondering, is Stephen Strasburg ever going to come back? I think that is a serious question that you have to ask yourself. And who is there to blame? I mean, I don't know at this point. I've seen a lot of people throw Mike Rizzo under the bus because he has been the guy that's like, well, Mike Rizzo had a signed letter by the Nationals saying that you have to show up, you have to do all these different things. And it was like an official document, quote unquote, from what Stephen Strasburg said. Well, let's remind you this. Mike Rizzo worked for the Lerner family. It's not the other way around. Lerner family does not work for Mike Rizzo. Mike Rizzo is a human being, just like the Lerner family is, just like Stephen Strasburg is. I'd be very surprised if it was Mike Rizzo being the one sending out that letter, writing it out saying, you have to show up for this, this, and that. I'd be very surprised. There was a legal battle, obviously, that got settled in, and the Nationals, they knew how now have more deferred money on Stephen Strasburg that will be stretched out more over the length of time. But Stephen Strasburg, at this point in time, it seems as if you will not be getting a retirement ceremony here in D.C., and that's not by the Nationals organization and their choices. I think this is a Stephen Strasburg choice. We'll see what the Nats do, but ultimately, this is a really bad look on the Nationals, if we're just being honest, first and foremost. It's not the best look on Stephen Strasburg, but it does shine some light into how he handled these things and really just how tough for road it was to come back. Stephen Strasburg will always be a legend here in D.C. He'll always be the World Series MVP. He'll always be cheered. He will never be booed here in the nation's capital. He even talked about how anytime he goes out, people just say, thank you for your service, basically. And Stephen Strasburg, legend here in Washington, D.C. Thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. It was a fun show. It was loaded of Nationals content. The Nationals do have the day off tonight. So while you're at it, it's a Monday night. Take some time off. No baseball. Enjoy some TV. I'll catch you on the flip side. Have a good one.